Hello, hello, and welcome to the Good Girls Get Rich podcast. I'm your host, Karen Yankovich, and this week we're talking about a topic that I talk a lot about to my clients, many of the women in our She's Linked Up program, and I have this conversation a lot, and I wanted to bring it to you because it is something that I think we need to reframe a little bit in our head, and that is, what if we treated our business the way we showed up for our last job? So what if we showed up for ourselves the way we showed up for our last job? So what do I mean by that? The last paycheck job I got before I went full time into my business was a long commute. In fact, the commute was so long, and I live in northern New Jersey, and I was commuting right to by the Lincoln Tunnel. So you can just imagine how the commute was. I actually changed my hours so that I had to be there at 7 a.m. because if I left my house at 6, I got there in 45 minutes. Normally had to be there by 8. If I left my house at 7, I didn't get there till 7:30, 8 o'clock. Like, it took forever. So the commute was long. While I was there, obviously there was things I needed to do, people I needed to show up for. I had to be organized. I had to have a lunch plan, right? I had to have, a plan for what was going on in my house, and I think about that sometimes because as I run my business, right, I am human just like you are. And I have days that I procrastinate, right? Or maybe I'll get a little whiny about how much work I'm putting into something. And then I'm like, you know what? Compared to what I used to do, this is not anywhere near as amount of work. And it seems like it is because I'm at my desk a whole lot. And because I'm an entrepreneur, right? Sometimes I'm at my desk. I'm recording this at some Saturday afternoon. I can do that. I have nothing going on. Nobody's in the house. It's quiet. Nobody's mowing the lawn. So it's a good time for me to do this. So I get to do that, even though I am, so I don't have a regular 9 to 5 is what I'm saying. So, but I want to talk about this a little bit because if you're struggling, if 2024 isn't the year you hoped it would be, and you're thinking about, maybe you need to make some new decisions around how you're bringing money into your life and your business. First of all, I want to help you with that. Please book a call on my calendar so we can chat about that. The link is in the show notes, and no judgment if what you want to do is go and get a paycheck job. But before you do that, I want you to listen to this whole episode, because what if just for 1 month we treated our own business with the same structure and effort we used to give I'll call it a 9 to 5 job. Like, think about that. I'm not suggesting you work more hours forever, right? I mean, that's the goal I love being able to be flexible. I love being able to say yes when something is going on a Wednesday that I want to be a part of, right? That I couldn't before. I'm not suggesting you should do this forever, but I'm saying, what if just for a month you were more intentional with your effort and your choices around how you're spending your time, right? So if in the past, maybe you set your alarm, like for me, to be at my desk at 7 a.m., to leave my house at 6 a.m., I was setting my alarm for like 4:30 a.m., which means I was in bed by like 7:30, 8 o'clock, because I needed to be. And I mean, listen, those of you that know me know, like, that's not unusual for me anyway. I like to be up early in the mornings, but I had to be up and out of my house, right? So what if I did that? What if I left my house by 6 a.m. I can't even say this with a straight face. I was up and showered and sitting at my desk, right? Just like I would have been in my car headed to work. I would have been showered. I would have had my coffee in my little Yeti. I would have had my lunch bag packed on the seat next to me, right? What if I did that? What if I sat at my desk at 6 a.m. and I took an hour break for lunch, maybe a break here and there, whatever, and then stayed at my desk? Now, remember, I worked 7 to 3, so I probably got home about 4. So I stayed at my desk till like 4. What if I did that for a month? What would change in my business? What if you did that for a month? What would change in your business, right? So I want to talk a little bit about the mental shift we need to make when we move from employee to entrepreneur. When we're an employee, we're conditioned to be accountable to our boss, right? Accountable to our employer, accountable to our coworkers, accountable to the people around us. And that affects our mindset when we become our own boss, because we're no longer accountable to anybody. Right now, that's not fully true, right? I'm accountable to my team. They're awfully happy I'm recording this right now, right? Because it was, I'm a little behind on getting these episodes out. So I'm accountable to the people that work for me. Accountability, there are studies that show how workplace expectations drive productivity, right? So that there's expectations of you when you're at your, working at your paycheck job. You know that there's certain production that has to happen. People expect things from you by certain dates. They expect reports or whatever, sitting in meetings, whatever you did, right? Those expectations drove your productivity, right? So I want you to think a little bit about that shift. How can you, for the next month, right? For the next month, shift that. And this, I think, is going live really maybe the beginning of October. So let's say for October 2024 or the next month, whenever you're listening to this, shift your mindset a little bit to have the same, maybe even put notes on your computer if you need to, right? Have the same accountability and expectations that you had when you had a paycheck job. Okay. So, here's the deal. I absolutely adore the freedom of entrepreneurship. But can I give that up for a month? I can. I can because I know it's coming back. And listen, even when you worked a full-time job, you still had days off, right? So you can still take a day off if you want on a Wednesday and go to a Broadway show or, hang out with your kids or go to a back to school night or go trick-or-treating with your kids, right? So you can still do those kinds of things, but we can't let the freedom of entrepreneurship lead to less discipline because then we're sabotaging our own success, right? Like what the heck? What are we doing? Right? So, maybe you need to build some structure in. Maybe you need to build some structure. And I've got some structure built into how I want to spend my days. I know I've got, and let me tell you something, it's ever evolving. It's ever evolving. But for me, that structure allows me to be more productive. And the more productive I am when I'm sitting at this desk, the more time I have to hang out with my kids and my grandkids and my friends and go to Broadway shows, right? Instead, because there's not as much structure in my day, there's nobody expecting me to be sitting here, right? What happens then sometimes is things don't get done on time. And then I spend the whole day being not productive, but with the stress of I didn't get this done yet, I didn't get that podcast recorded yet, whatever that is, right? So structure can help that productivity. And, I get that, us entrepreneurs often wear multiple hats, right? We're the CEO, we run the marketing department, maybe we're the financial planner, maybe we even do tests. And my goal for you is for you to be making enough money so you can pay people to do all those things so that you can stay in your zone of genius. That is fundamentally what we do around here at She's Linked Up, right? But I know, even I'm not, there's certainly more roles for me than just one role as an entrepreneur, right? I have other roles that I still play in this business, and I have people that help me with some of those roles, right? But I want to just acknowledge that this is not as easy, frankly, as it was when you had a paycheck, right? Because you need to be conscious of it, and you need to bring that energy to the work you're doing. So let's talk about what that 9-to-5 framework could do to your business, right? So what would happen if you put in that structured effort? Like thinking about, I can almost not even say this with a straight face because I can't even tell you the last time that's happened, that I've been sitting at my desk at 6 a.m., showered and camera ready. You know what I mean? Like it just rarely happens. But could I do it for the month of October? I could, right? I did it for years, many, many, many years. I did this, right? So, make your coffee, have your breakfast, build it in, plan your month out as if you were going to the office and then come sit at your desk. Okay. Then come sit at your desk. And, we know that this works. We know that this works. If you start to think about, how much time you spend, I'll call it procrastinating, but there's a lot of other things that we're doing, thinking that we're doing work, right? But even if you just built in that commute time to your desk, I think a lot of things would change, right? Obviously this podcast is, well, not obviously, maybe you're listening to it, the audio, but we also have a video version of this. If you go to YouTube, you'll see there's a playlist for our Good Girls Get Rich episodes, which means I have to be camera ready, right? It would be great. It would be great if I was every time I was sitting at my desk, I was camera ready. Right? Like it would be amazing. It doesn't happen all that often. I'm like, okay, I got to run downstairs and take a shower, or I don't go up to my desk yet because I haven't taken a shower yet, or brushed my hair, or put on makeup, or whatever. Right? And so I'm saying this to you and saying that these are things that I certainly could implement as well. And I'm not saying we need to do this forever. And I'm not saying we have to do this always, but do it for the next month. for the next month. It isn't about the extra time, even though we're going to be putting the extra time in. It's more about the focus, right? It's more about the focus time versus scattered time, right? Cal Newport wrote the book Deep Work, which talks a lot about that focus time versus scattered time. You definitely want to check that out. I actually also love the Pomodoro technique, time blocking. I often put on, use my phone and I'll put, or I have an Alexa here, and I'll just ask for it to give me, a 30-minute timer. And then I know for 30 minutes, I'm going to be focused. Right. And I can't do anything else. And that's one of the ways, it's one of the tricks that I have. We have these tools. They're really easy to use. I have both an Alexa and my phone and an iPad. I got all the things here. Right. I got all the things here. I don't need to have a physical timer here. I can do this a couple times throughout the day. And it's amazing how much more work I get done when I do that. If I'm having a day where I'm feeling behind, I'll actually plan maybe 4 hours straight. And when I say 4 hours straight, I build in break time because I will never sit at my desk for 4 hours straight because I just know that doesn't serve me or you. But I might do a half hour and then a 10-minute break, and then a half hour of emails and then a 10-minute break, a half hour of outlining a podcast and then a 10-minute break, a half hour of checking in with my community and then a 10-minute break. And literally just block out 4 straight hours just to catch up the busy work that's been sitting on my desk and weighing on my mind for, however long, right? I remember when I first learned this technique, it was kind of silly and crazy how eye-opening it was for me. But I remember I was doing, because I sometimes you just got to trick yourself, right? And that's what I do. I'm a fan of index cards. I probably told you that before. I always have a stack of index cards with me, and I'll just write down half hour email, half hour this. And there was a couple things in my house that needed to get done. And there was I have this bench in my bedroom, and there was just a pile of crap on the bench. And I really am not a crap person. I don't have a lot of stuff in my house, but there was just a pile there that I just have kept ignoring for a month, not for a couple days, for a month. And I was like, all right, half hour, I'm going to clean that pile of crap. It took me 5 minutes. But when I put that focus on it, right, took it off my brain. It was done forever. And I wasn't stressing about it for an entire month. Every time I walk by that, going, oh, I got to get to that pile, right? Think about that for your business. If you put some focused time on some of the things, there's also the eat the frog, right? Do the things that have been weighing on you. Just get rid of them, right? Get rid of them. Maybe start your day with an intention, just kind of like you would if you showed up for a job. Maybe it's stop to get coffee. Maybe you check in with your team, whatever it looked like for you, right? And then put in a couple of dedicated work blocks. Again, this is just for a couple of weeks. Right? Make sure you build in breaks and lunch. I am a huge fan of that. If you haven't listened yet to my podcast with Candy Barone, where she talked about projectors and human design, my human design says I need a lot of breaks. So I take a lot of breaks, and it makes such a big difference in my productivity. And then maybe have an end of day routine. Maybe instead of sliding into your desk and then sliding out of your desk at the end of the day, maybe you say, all right, before I leave my desk, I want to just check. I'm going to do these 4 things. And maybe it's go through the papers on your desk to make sure there's no loose end that you left. Maybe it's shutting your computer down. Maybe it's not shutting your computer down, right? Maybe it's whatever it is, but maybe, it doesn't have to be long and extensive, and there's no punishment if you don't do it. But the more you can organize your the structure of all of this, the more you're going to get done, and the more peaceful it's going to be, and the more profitable you're going to be. So I can say all these things, but maybe you're still thinking, yeah, but you talked earlier, Karen, about how you need to be accountable, and being in a workplace has built-in accountability. So you need to figure in built-in accountability, right? Maybe you have a mastermind buddy. Maybe you can, like I do, set a timer. Maybe you can, whatever, check in with, have daily check-ins with somebody. Maybe you can even have somebody, your VA or somebody on your team check in with you. Right. And say, I have this done. For example, one of the things for me is we use Asana. I don't really, if it's something that has to be done at a specific day and a specific time, it's on my calendar. It's not just in Asana. But of course, the things in Asana have due dates as well. But if it's a due date in Asana, it's kind of like around about this day, this needs to get done. Right. Well, I had to stop doing that. Because I am the leader of the team, right? And if my Asana tasks were all late, what reason does anybody else have to be on time with their Asana tasks, right? So that's the built-in accountability I have. I put it in Asana, I put a date on it, and at the end of the day, I'll look at it. Now, it doesn't mean I don't move things, right? Like maybe at the end of the day, I'm like, all right, there's 6 things I didn't get to in Asana. Is there any of them that really need to get done today? No, I can move them to tomorrow, right? So again, this is not, this is make it work for you, but make it, understand that it can be flexible, because you have to have realistic expectations, right? You have to have realistic expectations. Your goal isn't for you to work 10-hour days, right? But I want you to ensure that the hours you do work are intentional and productive, kind of like they were when somebody was looking over your shoulder and, you got your paycheck if you got your job done, right? And if you even put half of that effort, I'm not kidding you when I tell you, I talk to people about this a lot. And most people will cop to the fact that they probably don't put half the amount of hours. I mean, we feel like we do because we're at our desk a lot, but we might not put half the amount of hours into the work we're doing as an entrepreneur that we maybe did as a employee. Again, I'm not talking about the hours you're sitting at your desk. I'm talking about the productive hours and the output, not just I got to get this done. I got to get this done. I got to get this done. Right. So, all right. So the thing here is too, I want you to be mindful about this. I want you to be, I'm not at all projecting the hustle culture. I often joke that Gary Vaynerchuk and I are both from New Jersey, but I'm the anti-Gary Vaynerchuk when it comes to hustle. I don't think the hustle culture is something that we need to do, but I do think, and I shouldn't say that. I think there's times you need to hustle, right? There are times you need to hustle. There's times we all need to hustle. We can't, I have no interest in hustling all day long, every day. And I have no interest in my students or my clients having to hustle all day long every day. That's why we've created a system with our She's Linked Up LinkedIn and PR strategy system that's only a couple hours a week. Because I know if I gave my clients 10 hours a week that I needed from them, they'd never do it. But if they do these couple of things every week, it's going to bring calls on their calendar, leads to them, right? So it's not the hustle, it's the mindful effort. Okay, it's the consistent effort. Long hours does not necessarily equate success. And by the way, if you're as old as me, you maybe old enough to remember when multitasking was something that we were all wanted to be doing. Oh, I'm a great multitasker, right? We now know that multitasking sucks. It's terrible for our productivity, right? So we want to use tools, again, like I'll use Asana. If I'm tempted to do something and multitask, I'll go into Asana, I'll drop it in, I'll put a due date for tomorrow and get it out of my brain, but I haven't forgotten about it, right? So it keeps me on task with what I'm currently doing. So I can be mindful about what I'm doing. I can be mindful that I make sure that I'm prioritizing the money-making tasks. And then, and that allows me to not have to hustle and not work the long hours, because burnout is real, especially if you are, juggling your kids or grandkids or parents or spouses, partners, whatever, right? There's sometimes we got a lot going on up here. We got a lot of things we're keeping track of. So I want to say, okay, I'm going to paint this picture for you here a second, right? This mindful effort does not mean that you're going to work so much that you can't do those things. It means you're going to work so much that you can pay people to do some of those things. You can pay somebody to clean your house every week instead of every other week or every month, or maybe you're not. Maybe you're doing it all yourself, right? If you're making enough money, if you're mindful about the profit and you're mindful about the time you're putting at your desk and you're mindful about how you're spending your time, you're going to be. It's going to bring more profit to your business, put more money in your bank account so you can pay people to do the kinds of things that is drowning you right now. So if you are having this burnout because you just got so many things going on, think about what if instead of food shopping, you used Instacart. What if, and it's $50 out the window. I get that, but that time, my time's valuable. Right? My time's valuable. What if you could pay people to do some of the things you're doing right now so that you can spend more time with your loved ones and doing the things you love to do, right? It comes from working smarter, not harder. Okay? Working efficiently in fewer hours with higher focus. So I know that I'm saying to you, I want you to put more hours in for a short amount of time because I want you to work that muscle. I want you to work that muscle so that you start to build your business with the same intention, with the same accountability, with the same productivity you had when you had somebody that you were accountable to, right? And when you do that, that's when you start to be working more efficiently with those fewer hours, but that higher focus. Okay, this is why I want you to call me before I mean, to have this conversation, right? I'm happy to have this conversation with anybody that's struggling with where their income levels are for 2024. I'm happy to have this conversation. We can find some money for you. We can find a way to implement some of these strategies so that you can continue to have this life of freedom that you worked so hard to build. Okay. And I will say, and again, no judgment. Everybody's got to do what they got to do. Right. That being said, I believe in 2024, I've seen more people go back to paycheck jobs that from entrepreneurship than any year. And I've been doing this probably since like 2010. So like 15 years. I think this is the year I've seen more people go back to their paychecks. Again, do what you got to do to pay the bills. But what if there's an alternative? Like, let's explore the alternative. Because if you put the amount of effort into your business that you put into your job, if you got up and took a shower and were camera ready, every time you sat down in front of your computer at 6 a.m., how could that shift how you're showing up for your business, right? How does that shift that? So, all right. So again, I'm not asking you to do this forever, but I'm going to challenge you to test this out, maybe even for a week. I would love for you to do it for the month, but I'm going to ask you to do it for a week. And I want you to report back to me, right? If you're not in our Facebook group, LinkedInforWomenCommunity.com is our Facebook group. Come test it out and report back and let me know, how did it feel? What did you accomplish? Do you feel like you see a shift in your business trajectory, right? I want to know. I want to know how this does. And even just after a week, try it for a month, but start with a week, right? Just give me a week and see how this goes. And feel free, by the way, to DM me on LinkedIn or wherever with a picture of you, showered and ready and at your desk by 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. or whatever time it was that you used to leave the house, dressed and in your car or getting on the train or whatever to go to work. Okay. So I hope that this makes sense to you. I think that there's a lot that we can do. And I think we sell ourselves short sometimes, and we give other people more of our attention and our productivity than we even give ourselves. And I think it's time for that to end. I want there to be more wealthy women in the world, and getting a 3% or a 5% raise in your paycheck job isn't going to get you there. It's going to keep the bills paid, and that's important, but it's not going to get you to that wealth that is truly going to be life-changing for you, that allows you to live the kind of life that you want to live with the people you love and for the people you love, right? So if if you're not sure where to start with all of this marketing stuff, I've got our LinkedIn quiz. If you go to linkedinquiz.com or karenyankovich.com/quiz, it's just a great way to get started, to know where do you put your effort? Like, if I'm sitting here saying to you, do the things that are most money-making things first. What are those things, right? Well, that linkedinquiz.com will help you figure that out. We spend a lot of time on this quiz to help you. It's really an assessment more than a quiz. We spent a lot of time on this assessment so that you can get a sense of how you want to be showing up, what's going to make the most sense for you based on your marketing style, and how you can best take advantage of stepping into your next chapter, the rest of 2024 and 2025, with power and confidence and productivity, so that you don't have to work so many hours, so you don't have to work so hard, and that you are doing all the things you set out to do in your business. All right. Again, I will make another offer to you. I'm happy to talk to you about this. Right now, I mean, I can't promise this forever, but right now in October of 2024, all the calls booked at karenyankovich.com/call go on my calendar. So I would love to talk to you about that. Happy to do that. And, let's just see what we can do. We've got our She's Linked Up ecosystem of programs has been completely reinvented as we step into Q4 of 2024. If we've talked before, let's talk again. I'd love to tell you about it, because marketing has changed. Things have changed. Your needs have changed. And I have shifted up what I do to accommodate that, and to make sure that we're still on the cutting edge of what is working. Because what used to work in 2019, 2020, 2021, that's not working anymore. It's not working for me, and it's not working for a lot of other people. So if you're still trying to do all that, grab a spot on my calendar and we'll talk. If it's a fit to talk, if I think that we can help you, I'll let you know what that looks like. And then we can have a conversation about what it looks like to get some help. Honestly, I'll be honest. If I think that there's things you need to do first, I'll let you know what those are. If I have some resources to share with you, I'll share those resources, and then we'll talk again in another couple months and see if the time is right then, right? No pressure, really just genuine, I really want you to be making more money, right? That's where I come from. So that's the goal. That's my goal for you. So thank you so much for hanging with me today. If you loved what you heard today and you think that you have an audience of people that might enjoy it, I would love for you to share this out on your social media. Just take a quick screenshot, tag me. I'm at Karen Yankovich, and that way I can see it and I can share it with my audience because I want to get you visibility. If you're getting me visibility, that's how we support each other, lifting each other up. That rising tide that lifts all boats, right? And I would love that. And if you really feeling it, a rating and a review is always helpful to us. It helps us get an understanding of what's resonating with you. And I'll be back here next week with another episode. We have a great episode and a great guest for you next week. I'll see you then.